Hello everyone. Today we are going to talk about measuring the perimeter of a shape. So perimeter means that we are measuring the distance around the outside of the shape. So starting at one point or vertex of the shape and traveling the distance around the entire shape and then back to the starting point. That is what perimeter means. We're measuring the distance around the outside of the shape. So if we were looking at this figure, all right, we don't have any measurements on the outside, but this is more like a model. So you can kind of see we have these grids here. So every little side to these little squares would be a unit. Now we're just going to call it units because we don't know right now if we're measuring inches or feet or anything like that. So we're just going to call these units when we don't have a specific measurement that we're using. So if I count how many units we have on this top side, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So we have 9 units here. Now I know that in a perfect rectangle, I'm just going to put UT. I know that in a perfect rectangle, the opposite sides are equivalent. They are the same length. So if I know that this side is 9, then I know that this opposite side is also 9 units long on that side. Okay, so now I'm going to measure the shorter sides. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 units on this side, and so that means the opposite side, if this is a perfect rectangle, is also going to be 5 units. Now to find the perimeter, remember we are just going to add up all of these side lengths to find the distance around the entire figure. So some strategies to keep in mind when you're adding up sides of shapes. This one only has 4 sides, but some figures may have way more than that. So it's a good strategy to pick maybe 2 to start with, add those 2 together, and then add on the next one, followed by the next one. Or you can make friendly numbers. So I can see right away that I have 2 5s, and I know 5 and 5 make 10. So that's where I'm going to start. See if you can combine some numbers to make 10, right? That is such an easy strategy, and it's going to help us to get an accurate answer when we use those friendly numbers. So the other thing to keep in mind is make sure that you have a system where you check off or somehow that you know that I've already added these 2 sides together. So we don't want to add this side more than once. That's something really important to stay organized as you're adding together all these sides. We don't want to add some sides twice because that will not be accurate. So I've got 10 units with my 2 5s combined, and then I see 2 9s here, so I know that 9, if I double that, 9 plus 9 or 9 times 2 is 18. So I'm going to add 10 and 18 together, which gives me a total of 28 units. And right now, units is just my label. So this would be my perimeter. So our perimeter of this shape equals 28 units around the outside. So sometimes you are going to see shapes that are a little bit more complex than a normal rectangle or a square. So here's an example of one, and you can see that this shape right here kind of looks like 2 rectangles that we put together. If we kind of made a line right here, or you could make the line right here, you could see kind of have 2 rectangles together here. But again, when I have this on a grid that's modeled like this, and I don't have any measurements, I can clearly just count around the outside if I wanted to find the perimeter. So again, we have 3 units on this side. Over here we have 2. Now, with this complex figure, if I look down here, right, this side is not going to be 3. So we're going to talk about that in just a second. So if I look at this side, I've got 5 units. Here I have 3. So now let's take a second. We could just count these down here. We totally could. But something else to think about this line is the exact same length as this line plus this one up here. See how all three of these lines are parallel to each other? That means they'll never intersect. So 5 plus 3 is 8. So this line right here should be 8 units long. Let's count and make sure. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It definitely is. Okay, so then this line over here should be this line plus this line. So it should be 2 units plus 3 units. It should be 5 units long. Let's count and check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It definitely is. Okay, so now we have all of the side lengths, we can add them all up together to find our total answer. So you can already see I've got 5 and 5 here. I could make 10 really easily. I've also got 2 and 8, which also makes 10. Okay, so I'm at 20 now, and then I have 3 and 3, that's 6. So I've got 26 units, and that is the perimeter of the shape. Now, sometimes you will not have models. You won't have a grid. You'll just have a figure that looks like this with some measurements around the outside. And you won't be able to necessarily count all of the individual square side units. So this is totally doable, but we just need to make sure we're using our critical thinking and problem-solving skills to find the missing sides if we have some sides missing. So again, we're going to use that knowledge of rectangles. Here is a line that is 6 feet. So I know that this line right here, all the lines that are parallel to it, 4 feet, if I add it together with this missing line, it should equal 6 feet. So 4 plus something is going to equal 6. Well, that's going to tell me what my missing side is, because I know that 4 plus 2 equals 6. So this missing side right here is going to be 2 feet long. Now I need this side over here before I can find my perimeter. So let's check. I've got 4 feet long over here, so that means that this side plus this side is going to equal a total of 4 feet. So I've got 2 plus something equals 4. I know it's 2, so both of these sides ended up being 2. Now something that you're going to have to stop yourself from doing. We can't just look at a line and say, oh, that looks like it's the same size, so it's probably the same length. We can't do that because sometimes that's not always the case. Just because they look like they're the same length doesn't mean they actually are. So be very careful about doing that. Always make sure that we check it mathematically to make sure that we have the right length. Don't ever just look at something and be like, oh yeah, that looks close. We always want to make sure we're super accurate. Now we can add up all of the sides together to find our perimeter of this shape around the outside. Again, I can see my 4 and 6, I can make 10. And then over here, 2, 4, 6, and another 4 is another 10. So I've got 20 feet here, you guys. 20 feet is my perimeter. That is my distance around the outside of this shape. Okay, you are going to use this information to practice measuring the perimeter in our activities down below. You will have one activity that you are going to practice the area of, and I'm going to show you that secret when we get to that part. Okay, have fun, everyone.